This PetX Talk is brought to you by Pet World Media Group, your partner in all things pet media. Additional funding and considerations provided by Natura Pets, Found Animals, and Dogwise Publishing. Are you ready to be empowered? Then join us for this PetX Talk.
Hi, my name is Mychelle Blake. I'm the Chief Executive Officer for the Association of Professional Dog Trainers. I'm also a certified dog behavior consultant through the International Association of Animal Behavior Consultants. And I'm here today to talk to you about some of the top training mistakes that we find clients make with their dogs. One of the biggest mistakes we see is lack of proper socialization of puppies, because if a puppy's not properly socialized when they're young, it can cause behavior problems throughout the rest of their life. And my background primarily as a trainer is coming from the shelter world, and that's where a lot of dogs get turned in because they weren't properly socialized as puppies. So socialization is really critical for developing a happy, healthy dog. And the really critical period is the first 4 to 16 weeks of age. Now, socialization does continue throughout the dog's life, but if you're somebody who's just gotten a puppy from a breeder or you've gone to a shelter and gotten one, really concentrate on getting that dog socialized before 16 weeks of age. It's actually estimated, there was a study done a few years ago where they looked at a couple different cities in the Midwest, and they found that in that control group, about 5% of the people who had puppies actually took them to a class. That means about 95% of puppies never go to a puppy socialization class, which doesn't necessarily mean they don't get socialized, but it means a lot of them probably don't. And there's been a lot of studies out there that attendance at a puppy class has been found to reduce incidents of aggression, both to strangers, people in a household, and to other dogs or animals. It also really increases the likelihood that you're going to have a well-trained dog as an adult because you're giving it a really good foundation at a young age. And it also really increases the likelihood that the dog's going to stay in the home and not get turned into the shelter. And again, with my experience with the shelter, most of the dogs we got were not puppies. They were dogs in adolescence, 7, 8, 9 months of age to about 2 to 3 years. So again, starting when they're young, really important. Now, the other big mistake we find is waiting to do training when the problems start to appear. And again, this goes back to what I was talking about with puppies. If your dog has a foundation and you start training them right when you've got them, it's going to be much easier to work with them when they have a behavior problem, or you may never actually see any appear. Another big one we see, in my experience from teaching both group classes and working individually with clients, is lack of practice. We often see people will come to their group class, they come to a 6-week class, and it's clear they haven't practiced with the dog at all during the week. They think everything's going to happen in that class. And the purpose of a class or having a trainer come out to your home is to show you what to do, but to really train a dog, you've got to be completely and totally on it. You need to be training them in every situation, and it's just really important to practice, because that's how dogs learn. And another kind of part to this is really being consistent with everyone who lives in your household. Dogs don't understand English. They learn through practice and repetition. And if you as the wife in a couple is teaching the dog to do things and using a certain word, and then your husband's using a different word, or is using a different hand signal, or you've got children running around and they're all doing different things, that's really confusing to the dog. And eventually most dogs will probably figure it out, but you'll get the training results you want much faster if you've got everybody on the same page, everyone's using the same words, same hand signals, and understanding to not reinforce behaviors you don't like. Another really important one is not using rewards that the dog is interested in. A lot of trainers today use food, which is a great reward because most dogs like food, but it isn't necessarily the best reward for every dog. Some dogs really love, tennis balls. I have a German Shepherd that was all he cared about. He could care less about food. Some dogs are really into praise. Some dogs are into, getting to chase or play. Or, people will come to classes, and they bring food and it's like a box of dry Cheerios. Most dogs, particularly in a class environment, it's really crazy. There's stuff going on. You need to bring out better food, like some moist treats or things like that. And I think one of the biggest mistakes is not training the dog at all. There have been a lot of studies, again, which you can look up, that have been shown that behavioral problems is one of the top reasons dogs get turned into shelters. And I can say again, from my personal experience, most of these dogs, when they come to the shelter, you can tell never had any training whatsoever. And it's really not the dog's fault that they've ended up in the shelter. And one of the key characteristics that also been found is not taking your dog to an obedience class can lead to that dog ending up in a shelter. So whether you decide you want to go to a class, whether you want to work individually, or if you feel like, there's a lot of information out there, there's videos, there's internet stuff, definitely make an effort to train your dog, because you'll be happy, your dog will be happy, and hopefully your dog stays with you for the rest of its life. If you want to learn more about how to find a trainer, we encourage you to come visit our website. We have a ton of information there on how to find a trainer, what to look for, questions to ask. We also have a trainer search where you can type in your zip code, or if you're in another country, what country you're in, and find people in your area who are members, and it'll list all their experience, expertise, and what they do as far as services. We also have an event that we started that's every year called National Train Your Dog Month. That's every January. And that has a separate website which has a lot of great resources for the public. There's free webinars on different typical behavior problems. There's some information on how to become a trainer if you're interested. And then we have another website, which is our program called Canine Life and Social Skills. And it's kind of a fun program to encourage people to get out there and train their dogs and kind of see what they can do with a well-trained dog. Because I think a lot of people, once they get into training, they really enjoy it. They find out this is a lot of fun. They start to move forward into classes. They start doing things like taking their dogs to Starbucks or on vacation with them. So that's something we really want to encourage, is getting out there, seeing how much fun it is. It's really not hard, and it'll really develop your relationship with you and your dog.
We're here with Mychelle Blake, who just did an instructional video for us. Really important topic, and I wanted to start off, Mychelle, by asking you about the myth that you shouldn't train a puppy. You talked about it in your talk. Why is it so important?
That's a good question. In the past, the methods that we use to train dogs were a little bit more kind of intense, and so that's kind of where that myth came out of, that you wanted the puppy to grow up a little bit. You didn't want to break his spirit if you're doing things like correcting him on leash or whatever. And it actually is not conducive to the puppy learning, because, just like a small child, an animal is constantly learning the second they open their eyes and they're experiencing the environment. And so you really want to make every opportunity with that animal a training opportunity. And if the dog, learns from that, then they learn, that, working with the person means good things, that they develop a relationship with you. And it's just like with little children. If you teach little children, manners when they're small, it's a lot easier than waiting till they're like 16 and they're teenagers. So, same with the puppy, and like, I'll give you a good example. I brought a puppy home, I'm trying to remember, 9 months ago, and he's 11 months now. And, we literally were training him from the first day he came home with us. We'd have him sit to, eat his dinner, which he didn't really appreciate for a couple days. But, within a few days, he learned, if I wanted my dinner, I gotta sit. If I want to come to that front door, I gotta sit. So this was an 8-week-old puppy. So he was learning, from the get-go, these are the things that are expected of me, in my new life in this house. And so it's made training him, really, really like a dream. And it's funny, when I first brought him to a puppy class, he literally would not stop looking at me the whole time. And the trainer was like, what did you do with this dog? I mean, he has such amazing focus on me. And it's like, honestly, I really didn't do anything other than the way I interacted with him in every opportunity I use as a training opportunity. So, again, I can't stress, more that starting with your dog as soon as you get him, and even if you get like an older dog from a shelter, the second you walk in the door with that dog, start, working with them. Let them know what the household is, let them know what to expect. That actually helps a lot of shelter dogs kind of relax if they have an idea of, this is the structure. So again, and it's one of our goals as the APDT is really to get that message out there, that not only we want you to train your dog, but, start young and, make it fun, build your relationship, and you should have a great life with your dog if you do that.
I think another great point that you brought up in your talk is the importance, as you just mentioned, of continual training. Mm-hmm. But that applies not only to your pet, that also applies to the folks that come into common contact with your
mm-hmm.
pet. Let's talk about that for a second.
Yeah, and that's a great example, and I'll go back to my own life. My puppy now, who's 11 months, super friendly dog, loves everybody. He's a really cute pit bull. He has one major issue. He loves to jump on people when he says hi. So in order to work with that, what we did is we are now taking him, we take him out to Lowe's, we take him out to, we took him to a garden nursery, we take him to Petco, PetSmart, any place where dogs are allowed. And we say to people, hey, we're training our dog, I've got some treats, would you mind doing this? Have him come and approach the dog, wait for him to sit, and, give him a treat. And so what happens is the dog starts to learn, if I want to greet people, which for my dog, that's all he wants. He wants that more than a treat. He just loves people. He has to put his butt on the ground. And eventually he starts to generalize that to every person he meets. That's what he's got to do. What happens with dogs is, again, because they don't understand English, if sometimes they meet people and they get to jump on them and sometimes they don't, it's really confusing for the dog to understand. And again, eventually they probably will, or depending on how many situations they have with people. But if you are absolutely clear and consistent with everybody who meets your dog, you're going to see results that much faster.
Thank you so much. So important, the information that you and your organization are getting out there for all of us pet parents. We really appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having us.
Thank you for joining us for this PetX Talk. For more information on Mychelle Blake, visit APDT.com. Funding for PetX Talks is provided by Pet World Media Group, your partner in all things pet media. Additional funding and considerations for PetX Talks is provided by Natura Pets. Natura Pets can help you optimize your pet's health with premium organic supplements from the Amazon and Andes Mountains. Visit naturapets.com. Dogwise Publishing, all things dog. For all of your expert dog book needs, visit dogwise.com. Found Animals, working towards big ideas that advance the safety and happiness of animals in our homes, our shelters, and everywhere in between. Visit foundanimals.org. Special thanks to Pet World Insider, taking you inside the world of pets. Visit petworldinsider.com for more expert radio interviews, articles, and videos. This has been a Pet World Media Group production.